Welcome back. Now, in this lecture, we're going to take a look at what can often happen when you're developing in Odoo, and I intentionally picked a lot of this progression and the topics in the order I presented them in because I wanted to kind of give people a taste of really developing a real application. Some of the things that can happen that are good, and we're seeing some really quick results without a lot of programming, but we're also seeing a mistake that can often happen when you're building custom applications or extending Odoo with custom functionality, and that is right now this diet item Boolean field that we've added to our product template. Now, it looks like it's working great. We've got it so it's filtering by it. We've got a menu item hooked in with it. So what's the problem? Well, I'm using this as an example that how, even though as a developer you can create a lot of things and you can add fields and you can, essentially design anything you want, oftentimes you'll start finding yourself adding to models and creating structures when Odoo already has a good facility for managing the data for you. And when you are building something that's customized, you've got to remember that when you make something, a lot of times you can end up pulling it through your application and through all of Odoo's applications, and it becomes a whack-a-mole where, okay, well now in this form we only want to see the diet items, and in this form or in this particular instance we want to limit it. And now everywhere where we're going through our models and through our views, we're using this custom field, and this custom field is questionably required. And so that brings me to why we would not want to have diet item as a Boolean field in our product template table, and how we're going to quickly refactor it so that we don't have to use our own special fields. The resisting the urge to add structures and add fields to models when there's other ways to do it. Now, how else could we do it? Well, one way, if we click on our loaded baked potato here, is you'll notice under inventory there's an internal category. And if I edit and I click on this and I type diet items, you'll notice that we have an internal category called diet items. Well, that's not an accident. I added that here under product categories. Odoo came with all sellable, but diet items I added in. Why did I add that in? Because there's no real need to have a diet item Boolean variable in our product template. I used it as an example to show you how quickly we could add a field to a model and how quick we could create a menu that would allow us to have an action that would restrict our products based on that. But we've already got a way to categorize products. It's the product categories. And so I can add this diet items category in, and now inside of my views, rather than even touching my models, I can use and create views that operate on different categories in order to get a more pleasant user interface or to restrict what users see. But the advantage of this is I have not created new structure. I haven't added something that's not part of Odoo. Instead, I'm using Odoo right here. So how do we get it so when I click diet items here, that it's only going to show me the items that are in here marked as the internal category for diet items? And it's actually remarkably simple. We can just go here to our Eclipse, and notice how we have our domain is now diet item equals true. Well, if we look here at our internal category, you'll notice that the field there is categ underscore ID, CATEG underscore ID. So we already know that that's the field that we need to look into to get diet items. But this is, if you notice under type, a many to one field. And so this is an opportunity for you to first get your first little introduction to many to one fields, in that the category itself is in another list. And we can see it if I mouse over it again. Notice how the relation says product category. So it's not going to be an accident that if I go down here to product categories and click up on the diet items, that if I mouse over this, look what our object is. Our object is product.category. Specifically, this diet items up here is name. So see where it says field name, and it's of object product.category. So I'll save that back. And that brings us back to our diet item. Let's go back here just real quick so it's completely clear. Internal category, category underscore ID is tied to our product category. And if I edit it, I can see all our product categories. One of them is diet items. And we know this is name. So what's the syntax we need inside of our domain here so that we can get to the name? And it's pretty easy. We just have to think CATEG underscore ID is the field inside of our product template. So that is the field. We just looked it up. And then we know that inside of our product category, we have a whole lot of other fields, but the one that we really care about is the name. So this category underscore ID dot name, we can say must equal diet items. And we'll hit save and restart. And if we go back here to our browser, shift refresh, because we know that actions don't get updated well if the browser's not refreshed. If we look at diet items now, look how we've only got garlic, herb, chicken, and loaded baked potatoes. Why? Because now our actions, if we look and see, is based on the category ID name equal diet items. Now, is this a better design than using diet item here as a Boolean? That is maybe up to debate, because in this case, we're using our internal category. We're using a string. And what if somebody goes in here under products and changes the string from being diet items? So it isn't necessarily, I'm saying that diet item as a Boolean is bad, or that this is superior. In general, I would say it's better not to add structure. So I would go more for having the views not be dependent upon more complexity, and instead have the views tie them maybe by ID, maybe by having some business rules about what you're going to name things and how they're going to be named, and having good documentation. Good documentation over how you've designed the system is better than a more complex design. It would require more structure. And so I'm going to leave it like this, and what we're going to see here is how to back out some things. So now that we've decided we don't want to have a diet item, we need to remove it from here. We need to remove it from here so we don't have it taking up space in our database. We've removed it from our views, and instead we're not going to default item to true. What we might worry about later, and I leave that to you as an exercise, is how you could default the category ID to a particular item. But we're not going to worry about that, so we'll take that out. And we don't have anywhere else, I think, inside of the diet facts view. But now here inside of the PY, we want to take it out here as well. Now, what I might do, I'm going to leave it in there just for a second. We're going to go ahead and save everything and restart. and make sure there's no errors. So we've left the Boolean field in while we pulled it out of the views. And I would just recommend that. I'd say, in general, try to remove all your fields out of your views before you pull them out of your model. Because sometimes when you do pull them out of your model like this, there's going to be views that maybe were dependent upon that. And if they don't get processed in the right order, you can have errors. But you'll see we've refactored this pretty quickly. We got rid of diet items as a Boolean value quickly. We removed it from the model, removed it from the views, and now we've made it a little bit more elegant in terms of the design of the actual structure. Where if I click on diet items, it's restricting it by what product category it's set to. So if I go here, cheesy corn, edit it, and make it diet items and save, it's naturally now going to show up here under the list. So you've seen two approaches, and you've seen kind of how to refactor when you get down a path where you're adding fields to models. When there's any other possible way to represent it, I think it's a bad path. This, even though I've hard-coded diet items in our product category here, and I've put that inside of the view, there's still advantages to the fact that we haven't disturbed any of the models, so we have no dependencies there, and that we could theoretically take and add a property to, say, our settings inside of sales. So inside of settings here, we could add a property, just like it does for deposit product. We could add a property for what is our diet items category. So you'd set the category here one time, and then all the views, anytime they needed to work off of a particular category, rather than having it hard-coded with diet facts, instead it would look that up from the other, from your settings and your configuration. But that's still probably a preferable design than adding a Boolean field for a category of items, when obviously, as you can see, without adding any structure, we're able to get the same functionality and see all the diet items listed here. And anytime we change any of these, so if we want to make the low-fat Asian chicken salad a diet item, which it's not, it's just a matter of checking it here and saving. And now we have it. So, couple of different approaches. We've gotten to see how to do some defaults through the context. We've learned a lot about menus and actions just in a short amount of time. And so now we're going to take everything that we've learned up to this point, and we're going to apply it to a whole new model. The model's going to be based around a menu that we can have that will let you pick what items you've had for that day on the menu. So if it's a breakfast menu, maybe it's some eggs and maybe bacon and some orange juice. And then for lunch menu, you pick products for lunch. And what we will be doing is totaling up what our calories are on those meals and seeing how we can use calculated fields and related fields and some other things to make an interface for managing menus in our Odoo application. So look forward to seeing you in the next lecture.